Well, life is gonna change when inside we change and take that journey to the heart. You are my brother, you are my sister, and not one of us can live apart. We are one in the spirit. We are one in this world. We are one in the spirit. Everybody, every soul, everywhere we turn. Involve yourself in, it's time to give in for the healing of this earth. Many small steps here, billions of feet now, can carry everybody to rebirth. We are one in the spirit. We are one in this world. We are one in the spirit. Everybody, every soul, everywhere we turn. Away, 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 away. So as you take yourself, give back to someone else. All the nations here belong. Tear down illusion, shore up with truth now. Till you and I will sing a brand new song. We are one in the spirit. We are one in this world. We are one in the spirit. Everybody, every soul, everywhere we turn. Away, 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 away.
So please join me in prayer, and I invite you to just take a nice deep breath down into the belly to relax yourself, relax your shoulders. You may want to close your outer eyes, bringing your attention into your heart. In fact, let's just put our hands over our hearts as we remember that wonderful heart center of divine love within us that is who we are. And so in prayer, we hold all people being affected by the various challenges around our world. We also hold in prayer our country during this time of election. We affirm divine order and peace and harmony. We give thanks too for this opportunity to be together and connect in spirit, that we may lift one another up as we hold these thoughts of truth in our minds and in our hearts, that we are spiritual beings, creative and able to meet every challenge of life. And every day we remember that the divine in us that we are is greater than any challenge. And we affirm that knowing for all people, and so it is. Amen.
Good morning. My name is Bill Leach. Welcome to our Sunday celebration service. Thank you for choosing to be with us. It is our joy to connect with you and to share these unity principles that heal and transform lives. We are grateful for your prayers and financial support that help us stay connected with you. Please join me now in declaring our opening affirmation. There is only one presence and one power in my life and in the universe, God, the good, omnipotence. The Daily Word offers daily devotions that inspire people in many countries and in many languages around the world. As we contemplate today's message, we join with many others as global prayer partners. We ask that you center within now and listen deeply as we share today's message. I will be sharing the daily word in English, and Natalia Rodriguez will share the message in Spanish. And the daily word for Sunday, November 8th is healing. I embrace the healing flow of divine life. If my body experiences any kind of health challenge, I turn within to release all fear and all concern, as I affirm that illness is not part of my true identity. I remember that wholeness is my birthright as a spiritual being. I surrender any anxiety as I fill my consciousness with healing thoughts. My mind's eye sees each cell of my body aglow with the energy of divine life. In prayer, I express appreciation for all of my body's marvelous functions. I commit to taking time to bless my body with rest, exercise, and good nutrition. I speak affirming words of truth to encourage my body's healing response. I give thanks for the healing that I know is already on its way to me. I am grateful to receive and know wholeness. And from John 10, verse 10, I came that they may have life and have it abundantly. Thank you.
Buenos días. Domingo, noviembre 8 del 2020, sanación. Acojo el fluir sanador de la vida divina. Si mi cuerpo experimenta un reto de salud, voy a mi interior y dejo ir todo miedo y preocupación. Afirmo que la enfermedad no es parte de mi vida o de mi verdadera identidad. Recuerdo que la salud plena es el derecho de nacimiento de mi ser espiritual. Suelto cada tribulación y lleno mi conciencia de pensamientos sanadores. Mi percepción crística ve que las células de mi cuerpo brillan con la energía de la vida divina. Al orar, agradezco todas las funciones maravillosas de mi cuerpo. Recuerdo tomar tiempo para bendecir mi cuerpo con descanso, ejercicio y buena nutrición. Digo afirmaciones de la verdad para estimular a mi cuerpo a iniciar su respuesta sanadora. Doy gracias por la sanación que ya está en camino. Siento gratitud por mi salud y por gozar de mi vida plena. Y de Juan 10:10, yo he venido para que tenga vida y para que la tengan en abundancia. Now let us prepare for meditation with gratitude before me. Thank you.
Gratitude before me, gratitude behind me, gratitude to the left of me, gratitude to the right of me, gratitude above me, gratitude below me, gratitude within me, gratitude all around me. I'm so grateful, I'm so grateful, I'm so grateful, I'm so grateful. Gratitude before me, gratitude behind me, gratitude to the left of me, gratitude to the right of me, gratitude above me, gratitude below me, gratitude within me, gratitude all around me. I'm so grateful, oh so grateful, I'm so grateful, I'm so grateful.
So I invite you now to join me in this time of meditation. And again, we take a deep breath into the belly to relax and center ourselves. And I invite you to take 2 more deep breaths at your own pace, breathing fully into the belly, letting the belly expand as you breathe in, and then exhaling fully and gently and letting go. As we breathe deeply and slowly, we relax into the present moment. And I invite you to relax your shoulders. Relax any tension in the body by breathing into those areas and by sending those areas your love. And as we breathe deeply, we also let go of any thoughts, any concerns. We just set them aside that we may have this time of peace for Holy Communion with the Divine. And you may notice now as you allow your breathing to find a natural rhythm, that you notice the movement of the body as you breathe. You notice perhaps the sound of the breath coming in and going out. With your attention inward, perhaps you even feel the beating of your heart. Sometimes all it takes for us to become centered within is a few deep breaths and bringing our attention into our hearts. Centered within, we let go of the outer, and as we are patient and still, we move into a space of peace. For when we are centered in the present moment, not feeling regrets about the past or fears about the future, in this present moment, we align with our spiritual power. We align with our center. We come into a place of serenity where we are able to commune with the higher self, our divinity. When the personality relaxes and is still. When the busyness of the mind is calmed, then we center within and align with our true spiritual power. And so I invite you to think about your energy field. Think about the aliveness of divine life that you are. You may even be able to feel the vibration of that energy. For you are a radiating, vibrating center of spirit. You are the expression of divine life here and now. While you are having this human experience, you can also be aware and remember your spiritual nature, infinite, powerful, loving, and wise. And so today, as we take time to be still and a few minutes to be in the silence, I invite you to affirm for yourself the quality you want most to express right now. It might be health and wholeness. It might be prosperity. It might be peace of mind. It might be a greater knowing of yourself as a spiritual expression of the divine. Whatever challenge is in your life, think about how divinity is at work within you to bring you through this situation, to bring you compassion and understanding, to bring you strength, clarity, to bring you all that you need in every circumstance. En el silencio, enfocamos adentro y pensamos en las cualidades de Dios que están dentro de nosotros y que podemos callar para expresar dentro de nosotros. In el silencio, we call on these spiritual powers and activate them within us now as we hold these thoughts of truth in the silence. Respiramos profundamente de nuevo. I invite you to take another deep breath and just notice how you're feeling. As we remember that we are never victims of this world, for there is power within us that is greater than any circumstance in the outer, and that all we have to do is to activate it. To remember to put it into action in every area, every circumstance, every day. And as we remember that truth, we are filled with peace and joy and gratitude. We affirm that knowing also for people everywhere around the world. And we take time now to hold others in prayer by mentioning their names, either silently or out loud, wherever you are. And as these names come to your heart, see these loved ones filled with light, love, strength, power, vibrant health and prosperity, joy and peace of mind. See them as the light of the divine that they are, as you now speak these names. And we continue to hold these loved ones in the truth of their wholeness and well-being. And we also hold in our minds and our hearts people everywhere around the world, affirming that we are all awakening to the knowing of our spiritual nature, of our oneness with each other in spirit, that we may live with wisdom and understanding, compassion, and the expressing divinity, that we may live in peace and harmony. And so it is. We also today hold in mind all of those who are affected by the virus, whether it is those recovering, those who have made their transition, those who are caring for them. We see each one as a beautiful light of God, radiant with love and wisdom and strength. And we affirm well-being for all Americans protected in the light of the divine, and in peace, joy, and well-being as they serve. We give thanks for divine order for our nation as we go through this election process. We give thanks for the power of divine love to heal our differences and to lift us into harmony. We accept all of these gifts in the name and in the nature, the consciousness of the Christ. And so it is. So I invite you now to join me as we affirm together, as Jesus taught us to pray, our Lord's Prayer. Our Father, who art in heaven, hallowed be thy name. Thy kingdom come, thy will be done, on earth as it is in heaven. Give us this day our daily bread, and forgive us our debts, as we have also forgiven our debtors. And lead us not in temptation, but deliver us from error. For thine is the kingdom, and the power, and the glory, forever. Amen.
Gratitude before me, gratitude behind me, gratitude to the left of me, gratitude to the right of me, gratitude above me, gratitude below me, gratitude within me, gratitude all around me. I'm so grateful, I'm so grateful, I'm so grateful, I'm so grateful. Gratitude before me, gratitude behind me, gratitude to the left of me, gratitude to the right of me, gratitude above me, gratitude below me, gratitude within me, gratitude all around me. I'm so grateful, 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 so grateful, I'm so grateful, so very grateful.
So we recently changed our clocks back from daylight saving time to standard time. Who knew that when we changed from the daylight saving time into the standard time, that we would also be entering into the twilight zone? And why do I say that? Well, let's see. We have a tremendous spike in the viruses. We have prolonged vote counting for the election. Fires continue. Other crazy things are going on in the world. And of all things, the Dodgers and the Rays in the World Series, who would ever have thought that would happen? Now, all of the changes that we are going through do seem a bit crazy, a lot crazy right now. And it's very important that we know how to deal with all of this upheaval, with all of these big changes, with all of these stresses on us. And I liked the advice of the Hopi Indians, and in particular White Eagle, a Hopi Native American shaman, who made a forecast for 2020 and said 2020 is a crucial time in the conscious evolution of the human family. and that it is important that we be aware during this time, that we be awake spiritually as we go through this year. And of course, we are coming to the end of the year now. White Eagle told us at the beginning of the year, it is important that you are awake and aware, because 2020 gives us two options. As we go through this year, we can fall in the hole or we can go through the portal. What does he mean by that? We can fall into fear, negativity, anxiety, guilt. Or we can rise up spiritually and go through the portal, a gateway into greater awareness. And so we want to know, how do we stay out of the hole, and how do we go through the portal consciously with intention? And the Hopi people say, be like the eagle flying high above. Take the higher view of everything, the broader view of everything that is going on. And the eagle is said to see with the eyes of spirit. The eagle flies near spirit in the heavens, in the skies, near the spirit. So the eagle is a powerful symbol of many Native American cultures. And so we fall in the hole when we focus on what we are afraid of, when we focus on what we regret, when we focus on sadness. And if we are on the news 24 hours a day, taking in all of that, which is all of those reports that are full of fear, fear-inducing, then we are headed for the hole. If we don't take care of ourselves and those we love, then we are headed for the hole. So what we want to do is keep our vibration high. And White Eagle says, look at the indigenous people. They have been persecuted for thousands of years, and yet they keep singing and dancing around the fire. They keep having fun. Their advice is, no matter what happens, you can have fun, you can find joy in it, and don't feel guilty if you are having a good time, even when things are crazy and very, very difficult. Because if we are being sad, then we are not helping the collective. We're not helping ourselves. We're certainly not helping the situation. Like many spiritual teachers, White Eagle says it's all about the vibration you are holding. We want to move out of fear and anger and bitterness and into the light of joy, peace, and love. And so this is the shift that all spiritual teachers are telling us that we need to hold. And so the Hopi people are teaching that to us too, saying you must pay attention so that you don't fall into the hole. As human beings, we are so conditioned in our consciousness that we often look for the negative or think about the negative or dwell on the negative rather than that which is positive. So we have to make a conscious effort, a commitment to stay focused on the positive. And so I have this quote from the Hopi that I would like to share with you too, from the prediction by White Eagle at the beginning of 2020. I believe we have a slide. To be well and strong, you need to maintain a beautiful, happy, and bright vibration. And so we want to think about what raises our vibration, what brings us into peace and joy. Each one of us is a spiritual being, so we have this energy field, this essence, this vibration, and we are constantly radiating that out into the world. And that as we radiate from which end of the emotional spectrum, that's what we're going to experience. One of the greatest teachers on finding our center and becoming calm in the midst of the storm is Reverend Gary Simmons, a Unity minister who wrote the book, The Eye of the Storm, which has great teachings about how to deal with conflict, how to find and stay in our center, how to cope with whatever life brings us, and to not be afraid of conflict or challenge, because there are gifts in that. And in fact, White Eagle, Gary Simmons, and also another teacher I admire, Eckhart Tolle, all say that it is life's challenges that cause us to wake up spiritually. Think about it. Don't we really run to God when we are in trouble? Don't we turn to the Spirit within us, to our higher self, when we are filled with angst and fear or whatever difficulty we're having, a healing, whether it be physical or emotional or mental, whether it be a prosperity issue or a relationship issue or just our own peace of mind in the midst of this twilight zone. And so whether we want to admit it or not, it is the challenges of life that give us that wake-up call, to wake up to our spirituality, to wake up to the power that we have within us to overcome whatever is going on in the outer. And so Gary was a martial artist, was highly ranked martial artist. So he comes from that mindset. He comes from a unity mindset. And he comes from a lot of work he has done on himself as far as his relationships go. So he tells us about his past wife experiences, because he had so many marriages. And through each of those relationships, he learned a lot. And having so many different marriages also left him with the motivation to look at what is going on inside of me that keeps repeating this behavior over and over. And so he wrote a wonderful book on dealing with conflict within ourselves and between people. And one of the great teachings in this book is about being centered. What does it take to come into our center, and why do we want to be there? Well, I don't know about you, but I don't like feeling out of balance. And when I'm upset emotionally, when I'm sad, when I'm angry, when I'm afraid, I am not in balance. And so Gary says that this is a psychophysiological spirit issue, this being centered. How about those syllables? And all that's basically saying is that it's mind, body, and spirit. And Gary says that our physical center is about 1.5 inches below the navel. This is the hara, our power center by some teachings. And so if you are feeling out of balance and you are standing and dealing with someone who's upset, you can bring your attention there to this power center and find yourself feeling stronger and more balanced. But more than that, he is also teaching us how to mentally and spiritually, emotionally and physically come into that center. What is the center? And of course, we have this wonderful symbol for the calm in the midst of the storm, known as hurricanes, that seem to be getting more powerful. But Gary uses that analogy that at the heart of the hurricane, in the center of the hurricane, it's absolute stillness. And the sun is shining and the birds are singing, and you would never know that there was a storm that had already passed through and that the other half of it is coming right behind this beautiful, peaceful center. And so, like the storm, we can go to our center and find a stillness and a peace. And what we find there is that we can let go of the storms we're having in our personality, in our mind, in our emotions, and in our bodies, and our finances, and our relationships. In our center, there is none of that chaos. In our center, there's none of that storm. Because what is that? Our center is our higher self. So when we center, we align with our Christ self, our higher self, our Atman, whatever name you want to call it. This is what we mean by getting to center. By the truth of who we are, remembering that through compassion, through understanding, through mental discipline and strength, we can stand strong in the midst of conflict and challenge and find that place of peace. And I really like another thing that Gary points out to us, that because that center is within each person, we can communicate from center to center. When we are aligned in our spiritual essence and awareness of our spiritual identity, we can, even non-verbally, or especially non-verbally, connect with another person's center. And if we're having conflict with them and difficulties with them, that as we are aligned in our center, then we also are able to align with the center of another person. In unity, we also call that beholding the Christ in one another. In fact, one of the most powerful affirmations that has worked for me in my life is remembering when there is conflict with another person, that I can remember to say, the Christ in me beholds the Christ in you. You could also say, the Spirit in me connects with the Spirit in you. The love in me connects with the love in you, and the love in you acknowledges the love in me. And when we affirm this truth, we are also affirming that we are rising up in consciousness. We are waking up to knowing that there is a solution, that there is a common ground. There is a way for us to connect heart to heart and resolve the issues between us. And this is certainly a skill that we need right now in our country as we are so divided. And Eckhart Tolle talks about that as being groups of people that have it, groups have their own ego. And just as the ego in people, individuals clash, so does the ego in groups clash. Because when groups are in conflict like that and unwilling to see the other's point of view, then we are not coming from our center. We are definitely coming from the personality, from the ego, that is afraid. If we understand too that this is why people are upset, this is why people do violent things, this is why people attack either verbally or physically, because they're afraid and they're trying to defend themselves. When we come to our center, we can let go of defensiveness and come to that place of compassionate understanding of ourselves and others. There are a lot of great teachings in that book, The Eye of the Storm. And again, one of the things that he points out, and I have a quote from the book for you, from Reverend Gary Simmons: conflicts arise to get our attention, to help us find our center and get back to wholeness. And that might be the wholeness of physical healing, it might be the wholeness of relationships or abundance, peace of mind, whatever wholeness is needed. We remember that conflicts come up as a gift to us, to get our attention, to motivate us to find our center and express from our highest self. And there is another teacher too that talks about that idea that challenges wake us up spiritually. It's like this cosmic wake-up call that challenges, because they make us feel miserable, because they make us afraid or trigger fear in us. They don't make us, nothing makes our emotion, but will trigger our emotions. And when we react in anger, in fear, in manipulation, in resentment, whatever negative energies that we are reacting from are coming from the reactive mind, the part of us that is programmed to be afraid, programmed to self-defend, programmed to try to control the situation as if we could. What we can control is what's going on inside of us. And so Eckhart Tolle quotes Shakespeare, just as Charles Fillmore often did. And I share this quote with you from Shakespeare, and you may have heard it before, it's very familiar. Nothing is either good or bad, but thinking makes it so. Nothing is either good or bad, but thinking makes it so. So what does Shakespeare mean by that? Well, Eckhart Tolle reminds us that we have a reactive mind and that we live most of the time out of confusion, of unawareness about what is causing the challenges in our life and making us feel like victims, or allowing us to feel like victims, because nobody can make you but yourself. So when we are feeling in victimhood, then we are in the reactive mind, the conditioned mind, the pre-programmed mind that says the world is not a friendly place. I am not strong enough to take care of myself, so I have to really fight for my safety or to get whatever I want. What all of these ego ideas that are going on in our consciousness. And so what he shares with us that Shakespeare is trying to tell us here is that it's not so much about what happens to us, but what we believe about what is happening, what we think about what is happening to us. And so there's a quote too from Charles Swindoll that says this, that life is 10% what happens to you and 90% how you react to it. And so Eckhart Tolle is saying we can change this dynamic, so that we are not automatically reactive to what happens that upsets us. And it's a simple spiritual tool, he says. And it's simply about observing the thoughts that you have about what is going on. Can we notice the difference in what is happening as compared to what the mind is telling you is happening? And I've seen it in myself, and I've seen it in others when we get upset about things and a little button gets pushed in us and we're feeling like a victim, we're feeling rejected, we're feeling not good enough, or we're angry about what's going on. It's because this narrative that's going on in our mind telling us they are not treating you right. But then, you're no good anyway, no wonder people are treating you that way. And then this is what's all your life has been about, and it's going to be about. The ego has some crazy ideas about life. And so if we are not feeling loved, safe, and peaceful, then we are in the judgment of the mind. We are listening to the story that our mind is telling us about what is happening. And so you might think, well, of course it is. The mind is seeing what's going on and relating to us. What if we didn't have a judgment? What if we didn't have an opinion? What if we weren't attached to what's going on? Yes, it's taking a long time to count the votes. Can I be peaceful about that and patient about that? Yes, many people are ill with this virus. Can I find a place of peace knowing that each one is that perfect expression of God? Within them is the strength that they are. And all of us will leave at one time or another, leave the body behind. And so there are many people who are making their transition during this pandemic. Does not mean that we do not pray for them and pray for their families and pray for their peace and their comfort, knowing that each one who is making their transition, who is passing because of this, is moving into a place of peace and love where they are enfolded in perfect peace in spirit. So whatever is going on, the mind interprets it. And you may notice that you have a lot of self-talk about what's going on. Like, why is this happening to me? And why is this person doing that? And wow, why did I say that? Have you ever heard that? Why did that fall out of my mouth? This is the reactive mind controlling our reactions rather than our actions. And so if we think about what would it be like if we just observed what was going on? What would it be like if there was an argument that somebody was trying to get you involved in? That happened to me once. My sister and a friend were talking, and they were arguing about a certain situation, and they were trying to draw me into their conflict. And my dog wasn't in that fight, as we say. And I just noticed what the back and forth going on, and they invited me to get involved in it, and I just said, I really don't know enough about this to have an opinion. How could we be in that state of, I don't have much of an opinion about this. I notice what's happening. I notice the facts of it. However, I don't have to get emotionally upset about it. If I just observe what is happening in this moment, and I notice what the mind is telling me about it. Is the mind telling me what is factual, what is real, what is true? Or is the mind making stuff up? And you'll notice that our mind tends to make stuff up a lot, and it's often very negative. The ego mind wants us to not feel good enough. It wants us to be afraid, and goodness knows it loves anger. It feeds off of anger, and it feeds off of negative news. And it creates stories about stories about stories, and it goes on and on and on. So we, however, have a choice. We can center in the present moment, and we know that Eckhart Tolle is the expert on centering in the now moment. For all we have is now. The past is gone, the future is not here yet. But yet, when we talk about the past, we're talking about the past in the now. Or if we're talking about what might happen in the future, we're talking about the future now. Now is the only moment we have. And so in this now moment, can we just breathe? Can we just pause and just notice what story is going on in the mind? And do we want to believe what the mind is telling us? Is it true? Is it not true? Most of the time, it's not. But yet we have the conversation going on in our heads, and then when we get with other people, we carry the conversation on. So it's my mind chatter talking to your mind chatter. So Eckhart tells us that we can just center with the breath, take a deep breath, and wherever you are in the midst of anything that's going on, just notice. What is the room like? What does the energy in the room feel like? What are you seeing around you? Who else is there? What are people saying? But can you say that? Can you notice that from the perspective of the observer, like the Hopis tell us, like from the eagle's eye view, looking above the fray, looking above the mind chatter to see what's really going on in this moment, not based on the past or the future, but what is really happening right now. And so in the now moment, we center ourselves within and we just observe and notice the reactions we have. Notice the thoughts or the words that come up from us. The more we observe in a detached manner, in a non-attached manner, the more we're able to be neutral about what's going on and not buy into the fear that the ego mind is trying to tell us about, or the resentment we should have, or the hurt feelings we should have in some situation. And it is in this practice of being present to the now moment. And when you're alone, you can practice, how can I come into the now? Wherever you're sitting, just take a moment to observe without judging what's going on, what's there, about the breath, about your emotional state. And then this way we come into that present moment without judgment. And remember, the Bible tells us, judge with righteous judgment. What does that mean? Don't get into the fear thinking of the ego. Don't get into the defensiveness and the blame and the projection of the ego mind. For the more we stay in our center, the more we can see with the eyes of love. The more we stay in our center, the more we can act instead of react. The more we are coming from our true self, not some story that the mind is making up to control us. Being centered is really important. It's a fundamental spiritual practice that can help us be at peace, that can help us sing and dance, no matter what's going on out there, can help us feel good about ourselves and about our lives, help us be more loving and more wise in the choices that we make, so that we don't fall into the hole, but that we go through the portal because we are awake. We are spiritually awake. So I invite you to think about the challenges that are going on in the world now and in your life. How can we see that from a higher perspective? We know that there are great changes taking place because humanity is going through an evolutionary change in consciousness. And the challenges we see are helping us to be more awake, to calling us to express more of who we are from our center, from our spiritual awareness, from our spiritual essence. And so I'd like to share with you this thought about, did we do this slide yet? So this is a quote from Eckhart Tolle I want to share with you. Notice the difference between the situation and what your mind says about the situation. This is a key spiritual practice. And so as we practice this, we develop the skill of not being attached to the story that's going on in our mind, that we can let go of that and be truly present and be truly expressing from our highest self. And I have noticed that when I am able to be in my center and respond, I can respond with more love, more wisdom, compassion, and understanding. And when our energy shifts into that higher vibration, it helps those we are interacting with to also shift into that loving vibration. The Hopi have given us a reminder and encouragement. Don't fall in the hole, go through the portal. So I leave you with this affirmation. All the circumstances of my life are opportunities to know the truth of myself as a spiritual being. I hope you will hold that thought in your mind and in your heart. All the circumstances of my life, bless you, are opportunities to know the truth of myself as a spiritual being. And that's from The Eye of the Storm. Hold that truth because it is who you are, and it will bring healing, peace, and joy to your life. And so it is. Amen.
Thank you, Reverend, for that message, and thanks to each one of you for joining our spiritual community today. We are grateful for this opportunity to share the truth with you and for your gifts of time, talent, and treasure, which empower us to carry this message. It is our Father's good pleasure to give us the kingdom, and we affirm that we are already abundantly blessed with everything that is needed by joyfully sharing. Please continue to support our ministry with your love and your prayers. If you would like to support us with a donation, please visit our website, unitynorthtampa.org. It's easy to donate. You can click on the donate button on the website. You can also use PayPal and Venmo to contribute. And you can do it the old-fashioned way by mailing us a check. The mailing address is also on the website. Excuse me. And now we're going to affirm our prosperity with our offering affirmation song.
I am divine love. I'm unlimited supply. All I am, all I have, all I give and receive. Blesses me and blesses you and blesses all the world. I am divine love. I'm unlimited supply. All I am, all I have, all I give and receive. Blesses me, blesses you, and blesses all the world.
So please join me as we bless the offering that we have received either electronically or by mail or in person. We are grateful for every gift, and every gift makes a difference. So we bless the offerings we have received, knowing that they are given in love, recognizing that one and only source that blesses us through many channels. And we bless these gifts to the will and the work of the Christ, in whose name we pray and in whose name we minister. And so it is. Amen.
Our annual meeting will be held next Sunday, November 15th at 1 p.m. with video conferencing to allow as many of you as possible to safely participate. This is an important meeting any year, and especially now during the pandemic. We have financial reports about the well-being of our spiritual community and time for your questions. An email to all our subscribers will be sent in a day or two with the link for the meeting and instructions on how to use it. Voting members will receive another email with instructions for voting on new Leadership Council members and the annual budget. The email to everyone will explain the requirements to be a voting member. Every congregant is invited to participate in the meeting, whether you're an official member or not. General meeting information will also be posted on our website. Please feel free to contact the office if you would like help using the link or any other information. We really want every congregant to be able to participate. Our homeless outreach team delivers food and clothing to the hungry and homeless every Saturday. We especially appreciate your donation of men's and women's tennis shoes and extra large and double extra large t-shirts. Our vibrational attunement class meets online Tuesdays from 1 to 3 p.m. Angie Castillo offers advanced spiritual teachings and manifestation tools for the fifth dimension. The link to join the class is on our website and Meetup. Reverend Virginia plays the crystal and Tibetan singing bowls for our Sacred Sounds meditation on Wednesdays. You are welcome to come at 4 p.m. for the recording of the meditation. The video will be posted on YouTube and Facebook by 7 p.m. Thanks to everyone on today's worship. Thanks to everyone on today's worship team, particularly Reverend Virginia, as well as Miriam, Mindy, Natalia, and Lennon when he's here, which is, but we thank him too, because he's helped out a lot. And we're now going to close with our 1-minute song. Thank you for joining us today.